Despite being the third ranked level 5 in Academy City, Misaka can never seem to defeat one spiky haired level 0, someone who has no power at all, but instead has a mysterious ability to nullify her attacks, which cannot be explained by science alone. Imagine Breaker. Kamijo Touma was the bane of Misaka's existence, as she couldn't believe a level 0 could fend off her most powerful attacks like nothing. But one day things changed. Misaka finally did the impossible. But why did Misaka struggle to beat Touma? And what exactly happened when they fought in the Index light novel? In their first fight, Misaka tried to use her Iron Sand chainsaw on Touma, but he was able to evade her strikes, magnetizing the metal with her Electromaster power to use as a vicious weapon. By touching the sand with Imagine Breaker, Touma reverted it back to its original form. Misaka thought she had the win by touching Touma, where normally she would be able to send a current of electricity through her victim's body. But Misaka made a huge mistake, as she was touching Toma's right hand, where his Imagine Breaker is situated, meaning her electricity could not transfer. Misaka could not believe her eyes, as she was now in a vulnerable situation due to being in striking range of Toma's fist, making her cower to brace for the impact. But Touma, not wanting to hurt Misaka, realized what had just happened and pretended to be beaten. This was humiliating for Misaka as one of the strongest espers in the city, and so she became determined to try and one-up Touma due to her pride as a level 5. On the bridge in the very first arc of Index, Misaka used a powerful lightning spear on Touma, but it proved to be utterly useless, and she even fired her trademark railgun at him in the Railgun manga, firing a coin at 3 times the speed of sound with devastating firepower, but Touma just caught it like nothing with his bare hand. And then, in the Sisters arc, Touma stood in Misaka's way to stop her from throwing her life away against the number 1 level 5 Accelerator, believing it would put an end to the Sisters project, where clones of herself were being mass murdered in an attempt to turn Accelerator into a level 6. Touma simply stood in her way, refusing to let her go and sacrifice herself. He did not try and fight back against Misaka, despite her electrocuting him countless times. Yet Misaka still lost in the end, and she gave up, crying after Touma had lost consciousness and was willing to go that far in order to stop her. But to be honest, calling this a fight is pretty disingenuous, as Touma was not trying to fight Misaka at all, although his actions did convince Misaka to stand down and not throw her life away in vain. So perhaps there was no true winner or loser here. Fast forward to New Testament Volume 10. Touma has now partnered with the wanted terrorist magic god known as Ophanus, and is heading to Denmark in order to try and save her as she is slowly dying from the fairy spell. Misaka obviously has no idea why Touma is doing this and has decided to confront him. Touma and Ophanus were surrounded by 155 overs from Academy City, machines that were designed as weapons modeled off level 5 espers, recreating imitations of their powers in an attempt to try and surpass even the strength of level 5s, not through aim or personal realities, which are how Esper powers normally work, but through pure technology. These specific weapons were model case railgun, meaning they were all equipped with railguns in an attempt to copy Misaka's power. As the 5 overs closed in on them, none of them fired at Touma and Ophanus, despite them closing in on their firing range, as Misaka suddenly appeared, hacking every single one of the 5 overs, stating, "I've hacked all of this firepower. If you don't want to die here, then defeat me and continue on." As Touma had just gotten past Accelerator, the Roman Catholic Church, the Russian Orthodox Church, Aqua of the Back, Knight Leader, Kanzaki, and Karisa, and US soldiers just to get to this point. And now Misaka believed Touma was a spy for Ophanus' magic cabal known as Gremlin. Touma now realized he would have to somehow get past Misaka with an army of over 105 overs, which his Imagine Breaker would normally be no use against, due to them not using any supernatural force. Despite that, Touma ran to a 5 over, touching it with his Imagine Breaker, meaning it had now been released from Misaka's control. Misaka then panicked as the freed 5-over then aimed at her, assessing the hacker to be the biggest threat, and so Misaka used the other 5-over units as a shield against its firepower. Misaka then used an iron sandwich, severing the arms of the rogue 5-over while fighting it. Meanwhile, Touma was causing chaos as he was busy touching the other machines with a Imagine Breaker, causing a mass battle between all of them. Misaka could not tell which ones were still under her control, and now Touma had climbed onto the same 5-over that Misaka was standing on. With the 5-overs deactivated, now the fight would purely be a 1v1. Touma had to deal with 8 iron sand swords at once, but he touched one and they all fell apart. Bluish-white sparks appeared from Misaka, and Touma then expected a lightning spear to be launched at him, but something entirely different happened. As Misaka rotated the 5-over they were standing on using her magnetism, throwing Touma into the snow beneath them, Misaka then questioned Touma. I thought we were working together to destroy Gremlin and their base in Sargasso. Weren't we stopping that oftenest person from creating some lance? And when did you start getting along with that blonde girl in the eye patch? Well, what happened to defeating Offinus? Touma stated he had his reasons, as Misaka repeatedly hit him in the face with her fists, elbows, and forehead. Touma then explained to Misaka some of what had happened to him when Offinus was distorting reality. There was a really long time between when we arrived on Sargasso and when the attack on Offinus began, but everyone else didn't notice. Kamijo's voice was shaking. I know this is really hard to believe, but it's the truth. He doubted he would get through to her. He was more tormenting himself than anything. And during that time, oh damn it, I thought I'd gotten over this, but I just can't make up my mind. At any rate, a lot happened. So very much happened. For example, would you believe this? I saw all 20,000 sisters alive and attending a festival together. You didn't have to suffer at all, and all of you were smiling together as friends. That era really happened. And this wasn't an illusion or suggestion, and it wasn't a parallel world or dream. This world truly did have that happy era. I destroyed all those people's happiness to come back here. It wasn't just you. To come back here, I rejected a world where all 6 billion people were perfectly saved. Misaka said she would try to understand what Touma went through, but then asked, why would he accept a convenient and terribly naive world where all of her clones were alive? Misaka said it was not truly the same as saving everyone by bringing happiness to everyone on Earth, including the dead, stating, as soon as you unify everything under a single set of values, the next round of misfortune and discrimination has already begun. Misaka believed that a world like that would not change the fact she was involved in the experiment, and she does not want to run away from her sins, as Misaka still felt guilty for what happened to the clones due to giving away her DNA map to the scientists, believing it would bring about good. She also stated that a perfect world simply did not and cannot exist. Misaka launched a lightning spear at Touma in point-blank range, climbing on top of him. Touma was unable to move, and he then said he was now changing his mind about feeling guilty over choosing to go against Offinus's Omega phase for his own happiness, and that he just wants to see everyone smiling in the end. Mikoto looked Touma in the eye. So there's nothing saying you have to bear the weight of my future or the fate of 6 billion people to the point of your own destruction. She spoke and smiled while sitting on top of him in the snow. She reached her arms around to his back in a gentle embrace, and a moment later, a tremendous high voltage current burst from her body, and his consciousness was finally blown away. Just before everything fell to darkness, he thought he heard her speak. This is the first time I've beaten you. It's a lot emptier than I thought it would be. So instead of Touma giving Misaka the taught no jutsu, the roles were reversed this time, as Misaka destroyed Touma's illusion. Misaka always struggled to get the upper hand on the spiky head level 0, but when she finally did, it wasn't as nearly as satisfying as she thought it would be. If you would like to see a summary of this arc, then check out this video on screen, and I've got plenty of more Index and Railgun videos on the channel. See you all next time.